All right, so we can start making the foundation for our weaving inspired by Kente class. As we looked at in class, there are several different designs and colors on Kente class, and all the designs and colors have symbolism. But we are going to be making ours just kind of inspired by the Kente class. So I went ahead and printed out a sheet for you guys so you can see some of the patterns and things that they use on their Kente cloths. And we are going to be doing designs going this direction. So we're going to have it the portrait way. We're going to be working across this way. We're going to be using oil pastel, and then we'll be using tempera cakes to finish them off. So I went ahead and grabbed some of my oil pastels, and I am going to draw some just designs that kind of go across. One of the things I might do is, so for this one, I think I'm going to do a line across just to leave some space here. But I want the lines to be pretty thick so that we can see them. So I'm going to come back down here and do another line. And then I'm just going to fill in that space between those two lines so that we have a really nice, thick line. If I wanted to do some zigzag lines, which is something that you could find, you could do that. But remember, we want them thick, so we're going to come back through and we're going to make them thick by just drawing a little bit away. So it's like going the same direction, it's just kind of making almost like a bubble letter. Okay, and then we're going to color that in. So that's one way that we can create those thick lines. Another way that we could do that is, okay, so we wanted to do like maybe some stair steps, which was something that was commonly found. And I'm just gonna do this line again just because it helps me keep my design in just that one spot. So another way that we can make our lines thicker is just by going back through and tracing them right next to it. Just like that. So whichever way you prefer. So I went through and I drew it first. Then I come back and I draw a line right next to it. And if it accidentally leaves a little space, I just come back in and fill that in. And that's how I can get those thicker lines. You can see that I'm not necessarily just like barely coloring. So if I was barely coloring with my pastel, it would look like this, okay? You want to make sure to put some pressure on it because we are going to add that tempera cake, which is kind of like a watercolor over top. And we want our oil pastel to be nice and thick so that we have a good oil resist, which means that the watercolor or the tempera cakes will not stick anywhere that the oil pastel is, because oil and water do not mix, and so we'll be able to keep our designs. And you know, it's okay to make a mistake. I just made a mistake right there. We're just gonna have to live with it and move on. You can see that I am leaving spaces to be colored in with the paint later. So we don't want to cover the whole thing with oil pastel. We do want to leave some paper. All right, so once we have the oil pastel done, we can go ahead and go put these away. And then we're going to be getting our tempera cakes out. So tempera cakes are kind of like big watercolors, just in case you haven't been introduced to them before. So we're gonna have our paintbrush, and then we have our water container. So whatever colors we want to use, we want to make sure that we get them wet. So I'm going to use probably some not purple, good lord. Some yellow, some orange, red, probably do some blue. I'm just putting water on these, and I am washing out my brush between colors. Some green, so forth and so on, okay? So we want to make sure that we're not mixing the colors on the palette because other people use these, and we want to respect other people by making sure that the materials are good for everyone to use. So we don't want to mix the colors on the palette. We want to make sure that we're always rinsing out our brush between colors. Okay, so if I wanted to use some green in here, I'm going to come over to my green right here and just grab some color. I'm just going to run my brush around there for just a second. You can see that there's a little bit of water on there, but the whole thing is not covered in water, which means there isn't like water like just sitting in the well. We just need some water to make it work. We don't want to flood it. Okay, so we're going to come here and we're just going to paint our paper, and then we can come back and get some more color if we need to. Have it on top of my folder so that my folder can catch the mess, so I don't have to clean it up off the table later. Okay. We want to switch colors. We want to go ahead and rinse out our brush, but there's no need to dry it because we don't need to dry it between the colors. We just need to make sure that we rinse them off. Because I'm going back and forth. Sometimes I go like this, sometimes I go like this. We don't want to fan the brush out like this because that's going to ruin the brushes. Okay, back and forth, nice swift movements. All right, so then we're going to take this and we're going to rinse out our brush. Put this in the paintbrush container, dump this out, rinse it out in the sink, put it in the strainer. I'm going to take these over to the counter, but we will be sharing these, so make sure that your partner is done before you take them. But you can see that the whole thing is painted. There's no white showing anymore. We'll put it on top of our folder and then take it to the drying rack.